Hello everyone. I am Qamar Jafri. I hope all of you are in good health and you're all safe. Uh, my presentation is related to the Islam and peace education in Pakistan. This presentation is based on my PhD fieldwork, my PhD research that I conducted during 2018-19, and still it is in process. So in this presentation, I proposed the uh, analysis of textbook that is Islam and Peace Education. This textbook, the analysis of this textbook is based on my uh, f- uh, in fieldwork interviews and textbook analysis and translation of the textbook context, because that textbook is in Urdu, and the plus the other reports. So I will go into the context of this presentation. uh, after 9/11 after 9/11 attacks in US and Pakistan's collaboration with the USA in a war on Afghanistan, focus was shifted towards Islamic seminaries or madrasas in Pakistan. Uh, the scholars, civil society, and the peace actors thought that madrasa students in Pakistan are being radicalized uh, for violence and violent extremism, in terrorism and political violence. So in that context, the focus shifted to madrasa curricula and madrasa pedagogy to prevent the radicalization of madrasa students in Pakistan. Peace and Education Foundation is a non-profit organization in Islamabad, and it it created the idea to introduce the Islamic concepts of peace in Pakistan. So it collaborated with the Ittihad Tanzim Madaris Pakistan, that is the coalition or the conglomeration of madrasas in Pakistan. Those madrasas are all sects of Muslim sects, that they are the Brelvi sect, Deobandi, Salfi, and Shia. So basic target of the book was to uh, reduce the identity exclusive identity formation in uh, sectarian identity formation in Muslim among Muslims, plus to introduce the peace education in madrasa students uh, towards other religious minorities inside Pakistan. So in that context, Peace and Education Foundation uh, first published in 2014 Islam and Peace Education. And the working strategy of the PEF is to train the master trainers. It takes teachers and madrasa students from different madrasas and train in the contents of this book and in the peace education. And those master trainers went back to their madrasas. They work in two ways: they teach their students in madrasas, plus they train the other students, other teachers of madrasas. So I will evaluate the concepts which are given, which are imparted to these master trainers, then they are shifted towards madrasa students. The very first concept that emerged from this book is this book promotes the diversity in Pakistan. Pakistan has a very diverse society. There are different ethnic, lingual, different religious groups. There are different sectarian within Muslims sectarian groups. there are different even races. So that diversity has problem, because the states issue with the political Islam, states issues with the Islamization or Islamic identity formations, states struggles with the creation of unity or nationalism among all these identities, that led to the intolerance towards different ethnic, lingual, religious, and sectarian groups inside Pakistan. So, to address this issue, this peace and education book introduces the concept of diversity by taking the contents from Quran. And for example, on page 9 of the textbook, it gives interprets the Quranic verse, uh, like diversity of languages and colors. So it is interpreted that Quran um, encourages Quran sports. It means Islam sports the diversity of different lingual, different religious, different sectarian existence in a society, within a country, within a same community. So that concept is related to diversity promotion in Pakistan. So within sectarian concept, another verse of the Quran is related on one page 123, explains that so, do not do not be divided. So it is referred to the Muslims. Its interpretation is related to the Muslims sects, that Muslims should firmly hold the beliefs, basic beliefs of Islam, that is Allah or God, prophethood, and Quran and Hadith. So these are the basic principles of Islam that should all Muslims believe on this, and they should not be divided. So sectarian, to address the sectarian differences inside Pakistan. The next, this book addresses the issue, gives critical thinking to madrasa teachers. For example, it gives training to imams, different mosques and imams. It gives training in pedagogy, in teaching methods, in psychological concepts, and social sciences conflicts. So, from pedagogy, social sciences, educational concepts, they learn about how to argue, how to debate, how to discuss the religious, sectarian, or their issues with critical analysis, with analytical approach, with reasons, with logic. Other way of promoting critical thinking in madrasa students and teachers is teacher guide. This teacher guide is based on the teachings of this peace and education book. So from taking concept from peace and education book, teacher guide is prepared, and those madrasa teachers use in the madrasa this teacher guide. And another way of promoting critical thinking is to expose the madrasa teachers with university education, with university teachers. University teachers or professors are hired, and they have 8 weeks course on university madrasa certificate program. So university teachers expose the madrasa teachers with the concepts of modern education, that is how to educate the children, how to promote uh, diversity, how to promote critical thinking, uh, how to make the students able to adjust in the modern education. The other way is interfaith dialogue. Different religious minorities, different sectarian uh, groups of Pakistan, they are they are connected through a dialogue. Through this dialogue, mainly they are the imams, they are madrasa teachers, and through this dialogue, they also learn the contents of this book. So these are all things are based on the contents of this textbook. For example, the on page 9 of the textbook, it is mentioned that do not harm people unknowingly, means do not give, do not harm, do not be dangerous to the people without knowing the reasons, without knowing the logic, without knowing, with means without uh, thinking critically about the issue. So this particular issue is relevant to the radicalization of young people, because mostly for jihad or for violence, political violence, they are radicalized, and they are driven because they don't know much about the concepts of jihad, much about the concepts of where to start jihad, who has the authority to give the order of jihad. So like this, these are the concept critical thinking. So the next, this book gives concepts of understanding the causes of conflict, how the conflict between human beings start, what are different reasons, and how to approach those conflicts, and how to resolve those conflicts. Like previous concepts, they give critical thinking. So critical thinking, dialogue, modern education, pedagogy, they are linked with the conflict and the resolution of conflict. So through dialogue, through critical thinking, through logical reasoning, the conflict can be resolved. And conflict should be managed, conflict should not be escalated. This education, particularly this book, focuses on this. Like in this Quranic verses is interpreted that fight against the transgression means justice, do justice, do fairness, and do not be unfair with anyone, with any human being. This is not limited to only Muslims, to any human beings. So this interpretation gives also is linked with the within Muslims, then like the concept of brotherhood, that make peace between your brothers within sects like Deobandi, Brelvi, Shia, Sunni, uh, Salafi. Make peace with your brothers. So this concept is addresses the uh, sectarian issues. The above concept addresses the aims to expose them towards uh, religious minorities, that behave treat them with fairness, with justice. Next concept is religious freedom. This book also takes the concept from Quranic verse and tells that destroying the churches or attacking the churches, synagogues, monasteries, or any other religious worship places of religious minorities in Pakistan uh, is forbidden in Quran. Allah, God forbids this. Allah doesn't allow this, because uh, there is also name of, there is also worship of gods, and there can be a worship of Allah. So that is the religious freedom, that promotes the religious freedom among religious class, madrasa students, madrasa teachers, about Christians, Hindus, Sikh, and other religious minorities existing inside Pakistan. Uh, this Other than the religious freedom, the textbook imparts knowledge in non-violent communications. With reference to communications, mostly the madrasa students or madrasa teachers, they have rote learning system. And in rote learning system, they lack critical thinking. They where they lack critical thinking, where they cannot argue, where they cannot give the reason or logic. They resort to violent or hate speech, or violent, mostly violent kind of language, or even there are they become the part of militants or terrorist groups. So this book gives them the concepts of non-violent communications, like how to speak with respect, how to tolerate different opinions, different point of view, and how to understand each other mutual values, like the other religious or sectarian values, other people's thinking worldviews and their own thinkings. Then they can tolerate, they should tolerate, they should speak with tolerance, they should speak with respect and listen to them, and then tell their point of view. Like and they took from Surah verse Al-Baqarah, speak kindly to people, mean with politeness, with good manner, and good manners to the people. So do not insult the others. Like uh, if you will insult the other people or the other groups, your perceived enemy or opponents, then of course they will give you the same. They will resort to same. So this non-violent communication also this book teaches. What is the impact of this book so far? Since 2014, this Peace and Education Foundation has established 5 different centers. Uh, those different centers are different, the Deobandi, Brelvi, Salfi, and Shia, and sects. So by targeting all these sects, 5 centers has been established, and 478 teachers, madrasa teachers have been trained so far. So those trained teachers have further approached or further impacted madrasa teachers and students, and that has reached more than 50,000 students and madrasa teachers, and in all sects of Muslims. As far as the publication and distribution of this book is concerned, around 3,500 Barelvi, in different Barelvi madrasas, book has been distributed. Around 3,500 in Deobandi madrasas, this book has been distributed, and 2,000 books are distributed in Shia madrasas, and 2,500 in Salfi madrasas, and 1,000 copies of this book are translated into Pashto language, because in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, northwestern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan, mostly in madrasas or Islamic schools, uh, the teachers and students speak Pashto language, local language, their native language. So they requested that the book should be given them into Pashto language. 1,000 copies of this book has been translated by International Research Council on Religious Affairs to deliver those northwestern region. In conclusion, I will conclude this presentation that if young people, especially the religious madrasa students, madrasa teachers, are exposed or made awareness about the concepts of other groups or perceived opponents, and their knowledge and awareness about other groups is increased in light of Islamic teachings, in light of Quranic verses, and they are interpreted in context of conflict in a particular situation like that of Pakistan. There could be a reduction in prejudice, discrimination, and hostile feelings between them. So this prejudice or this discrimination can can develop empathy. And the main issue, that is perceived threats between them, that if one contacts with the other sect or other religion, they will lose their own faith. That is the main feelings, perception, that they will lose their own. So that this contact will increase their empathy, their knowledge, and their anxiety, or their anxiousness of losing the faith or symbolic identity, sectarian identity or religious identity. This will be minimized. And this can be inclusive learning. This inclusive learning can be a good way to reduce prejudice, and to prevent them from radicalization, from being violent or being extremist. That is the main issue that comes from the exclusive sectarian or exclusive teachings that is common in Pakistan and madrasas, different madrasas. For further sources, uh, peace and education website can be consulted for. I have also published on this particular case study on this, and for Peace Direct. That is also useful to know for further if someone interested in this. Thank you so much.